Today, we will talk about top 10 most famous speeches in history. A speech is a formal address delivered to an audience that seeks to convince, persuade, inspire, or inform. From historic moments to the present day, the English language has given us some extraordinary examples of the spoken word. A powerful tool in the right or wrong hands, spoken English can and has changed the world. We've chosen 10 of the most famous speeches in English. They range from celebrated, world-changing pieces of rhetoric to our personal favorites, but most importantly, they still rouse our emotions when we hear them today. We've examined each for the tricks of the oratory trade. After each speech, you'll find some bullet points outlining its most distinctive rhetorical features and why a speechwriter would include them. 1. Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream, 1963. We couldn't have a video about speeches without mentioning this one. Incredibly famous and iconic, Martin Luther King changed the character of speechmaking. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. 2. King George VI Radio Address, 1939. This speech was brought back to life recently thanks to the film, The King's Speech, 2010. While George VI will never go down in history as one of the world's gifted orators, his speech will certainly be remembered. In this grave hour, perhaps the most fateful in history, I send to every household of my peoples, both at home and overseas, this message, spoken with the same depth of feeling for each one of you as if I were able to cross your threshold and speak to you myself. For the second time in the lives of most of us, we are at war. Over and over again, we have tried to find a peaceful way out of the differences between ourselves and those who are now our enemies, but it has been in vain. 3. Winston Churchill, We Shall Fight on the Beaches, 1940. Churchill is an icon of great speech-making. All his life, Churchill struggled with a stutter that caused him difficulty pronouncing the letters. Nevertheless, with pronunciation and rehearsal, he became one of the most famous orators in history. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender, and even if, which I do not for a moment believe, this island or a large part of it were subjugated and starving, that our empire beyond the seas, armed and guarded by the British fleet, would carry on the struggle, until in God's good time the new world, with all its power and might, steps forth to the rescue and the liberation of the old. 4. Elizabeth I Speech to the Troops, 1588. The Virgin Queen, Elizabeth I, made this speech at a pivotal moment in English history. It is a remarkable speech in extraordinary circumstances, made by a woman. It deals with issues of gender, sovereignty, and nationality. I am come amongst you, as you see at this time, not for my recreation and disport, but being resolved, in the midst and heat of the battle, to live and die amongst you all, to lay down for my God, and for my kingdom and my people, my honor and my blood, even in the dust. I know I have the body of a weak and feeble woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king, and of a king of England too, and think foul scorn that Parma or Spain, or any prince of Europe, should dare to invade the borders of my realm, to which rather than any dishonor shall grow by me, I myself will take up arms. I myself will be your general, judge, and rewarder of every one of your virtues in the field. 5. Chief Joseph's Surrender Speech, 1877. We've included this speech because there is something extremely raw and humbling about Chief Joseph's surrender. Combining vulnerability with pride, this is an unusual speech and deserves attention. Tell General Howard I know his heart. What he told me before, I have it in my heart. I am tired of fighting. Our chiefs are killed. Looking Glass is dead. Tahul shoot is dead. The old men are all dead. It is the young men who say yes or no. He who led on the young men is dead. It is cold, and we have no blankets. The little children are freezing to death. My people, some of them, have run away to the hills and have no blankets, no food. No one knows where they are, perhaps freezing to death. I want to have time to look for my children and see how many of them I can find. Maybe I shall find them among the dead. Hear me, my chiefs. I am tired. My heart is sick and sad. From where the sun now stands, I will fight no more forever. 6. Emmeline Panker's Freedom or Death 1913. Traditionally silent, women tend to have been left out of rhetoric. All that changed, however, with the advent of feminism. In her struggle for the vote, Pankhurst and her fellow protesters were compelled to find a voice. You have left it to women in your land. The men of all civilized countries have left it to women to work out their own salvation. That is the way in which we women of England are doing. Human life for us is sacred, but we say if any life is to be sacrificed, it shall be ours. We won't do it ourselves, but we will put the enemy in the position where they will have to choose between giving us freedom or giving us death. 7. John F. Kennedy, the decision to go to the moon 1961. Great moments require great speeches. The simplicity of Kennedy's rhetoric preserves a sense of wonder at going beyond human capabilities at this great event for science and technology. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard, because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one which we intend to win, and the others too. 8. Shakespeare The Tempest Act 3 Scene 2, 1610. Of course, any list of great speeches would be incomplete without a mention of the master of rhetoric, the bard himself. If you caught the London Olympic opening ceremony, you would have noticed that Kenneth Branagh delivered Caliban's speech from The Tempest. Be not afeard, the isle is full of noises, sounds and sweet airs that give delight and hurt not. Sometimes 1,000 twangling instruments will hum about mine ears, and sometime voices, that, if I then had waked after long sleep, will make me sleep again, and then, in dreaming, the clouds methought would open and show riches, ready to drop upon me that when I waked, I cry to dream again. 9. Shakespeare Henry V. Act 3 Scene 1, 1598. One of rhetoric's most primal functions is to transform terrified men into bloodthirsty soldiers. Once More Unto the Breach is a speech that does just that. It is a perfect example of how poetry is an inextricable element of rhetoric. Once more unto the breach, dear friends, once more. Or close the wall up with our English dead. In peace there's nothing, so becomes a man, as modest stillness and humility. But when the blast of war blows in our ears, then imitate the action of the tiger. Stiffen the sinews, summon up the blood, disguise fair nature with hard-favored rage. 10. William Leon Phelps, The Pleasure of Books 1933. This speech was read a year before Nazis began their systematic destruction of books that didn't match Nazi ideals. As major advocates of books at English trackers, we're naturally inclined to love speeches about their importance. A borrowed book is like a guest in the house. It must be treated with punctiliousness, with a certain considerate formality. You must see that it sustains no damage. It must not suffer while under your roof. You cannot leave it carelessly. You cannot mark it. You cannot turn down the pages. You cannot use it familiarly. And then someday, although this is seldom done, you really ought to return it. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comment section below. Before you go, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.